Imagine for a moment a world completely disconnected. No smartphone buzzing in your pocket, no GPS to guide you, no social media feeds to curate, and no Google to answer your questions. Just you, your friends, and a vast expanse of unsupervised freedom. This wasn't an episode of Survivor. This was everyday life for teenagers in the 1980s. They were the Latchkey Generation, the Gen X kids coming of age in a uniquely analog window of time. Psychologists are now looking back and realizing that this specific environment didn't just shape their memories, it wired their brains differently. It created a generation that is arguably more grounded, resilient, and weirdly comfortable with discomfort than any that followed. Today, we're diving deep into the psychology behind the 80s teen. Let's set the scene. It's 3 p.m. on a Tuesday. School is out. Both parents are at work. You walk home, let yourself in with a key worn around your neck or retrieved from under a fake rock, and you lock the door behind you. You were a latchkey kid. For millions of 80s teens, coming home to an empty house was the norm, not the exception. While modern parenting might view this as neglect, psychologically it was a masterclass in hyper-independence. You had to problem solve in real time. You made your own snacks, started your homework, handled household chores, and crucially, you decided what to do with hours of unstructured time. There were no Life 360 apps tracking your location and no constant text check-ins. This autonomy built a profound sense of self-efficacy, the deep, internalized belief that I can handle this. Experts call this calibrated risk-taking. Teens learned the difference between genuine danger and mere adventure by climbing trees, biking miles from home, and navigating the city without adult oversight. The result was a nervous system wired for resilience instead of anxiety. Then there was the silence. No endless scroll, no TikTok dopamine loops, no on-demand streaming. Boredom was a physical presence in the 1980s. You had to sit with it. Waiting for friends who were late? Bored. Long car rides? Bored. Saturday afternoons with nothing on TV? Super bored. But here is what modern neuroscience tells us. Tolerating boredom is the gym for emotional regulation. When you aren't constantly distracted, your brain activates the default mode network, which is responsible for daydreaming, self-reflection, and creativity. 80s teens became experts at self-soothing without external stimulation. They invented games, made intricate mixtapes, read books, or just stared at the ceiling and thought. This skill created grounded adults, people who don't panic in silence and who can think deeply without needing to check a notification every 30 seconds. In a world now obsessed with constant input, that quiet inner strength is a rare superpower. Socially, the stakes were higher. Relationships happened face-to-face or over a landline, and that's only if someone actually picked up. There was no ghosting via text because there were no texts. There were no curated profiles to hide behind. You had to read body language, tone of voice, and micro-expressions in real time. If you wanted to ask someone out, you had to call their house and risk their dad answering the phone. That required guts. And when it came to conflict, you argued in person. You couldn't block someone and disappear. You had to see them at school the next day. This forced a type of social accountability that is fading today. Peer pressure existed, but so did community surveillance. Neighbors watched you. Shopkeepers knew you. This built situational awareness and emotional intelligence the old-fashioned way, through direct, unfiltered human contact. Culturally, the 80s were a paradox. You had the neon-soaked optimism of the Reagan era, big hair and MTV, but underneath there was a heavy dose of cynicism, the Cold War nuclear threat, the rising divorce rate, and a spike in crime. This environment taught teens pragmatic realism. The mindset was, hope is great, but don't count on anyone to save you. Perhaps the biggest psychological difference lies in how they processed pain. There was no posting your meltdown for likes. There was no viral therapy speak or performative vulnerability. When life got hard, family fights, breakups, failing grades, you dealt with it privately. You blasted music on your Walkman, rode your BMX bike until your legs burned, or talked to a single best friend on a stoop. That private recovery built internal coping mechanisms. Modern psychology has begun to link constant public sharing of trauma with higher anxiety levels. 80s teens recovered without an audience. They learned that stress is hard but recoverable because their baseline was discomfort, not convenience. So were teenagers in the 80s tougher? Not necessarily in a macho way, but they were certainly more grounded. They walked out of that decade with a toolkit containing self-reliance, a high tolerance for boredom, a highly tuned social radar, and a quiet resilience that persists in a digital world. They are the generation that is adaptable, skeptical of authority, but quietly confident in their ability to figure things out. If you are Gen X or just fascinated by this era, does this psychological profile ring true to you? Which part of the analog life do you think we need to bring back today? Drop a comment below. If you miss the freedom, hit that like button and subscribe for more deep dives into how our past shapes our minds. Stay grounded.